Have you ever asked yourself, like, is it really possible to completely redesign your life in just, say, a year? Welcome, everyone, to a new conversation, a space where we explore those ideas that could potentially change everything for you.
That really is the key question, isn't it? Because today we're going to dive deep into this capacity you have, that we all have, to build the life you truly desire.
Yeah.
And look, we're not talking about some kind of magic wand here. It's more about understanding these fundamental principles that, once you apply them, they can really propel you towards that future you envision.
Right.
But it all kicks off with a pretty significant shift in how you think.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, right? So many of us feel like we're just spinning our wheels, stuck in the same place.
Yeah.
We've kind of come to accept certain limitations, almost like they're set in stone. But what if those barriers you feel? What if they aren't quite as solid as you think? Today, we really want to unpack why those beliefs keeping you where you are might just be, well, self-deceptions, maybe illusions holding you back.
That's such a crucial perspective for you listening. Often, that feeling of being stuck, it feels so incredibly real that we mistake it for reality itself.
Totally.
But together, we're going to explore how you can actually break free from that inertia, how you can start dismantling those stories you tell yourself and begin charting a real path towards the life you genuinely want. So, yeah, get ready for a bit of a journey of self-discovery.
Okay, let's start breaking this down then. One of the core ideas that really jumped out from what we looked at is this notion that your current reality isn't some fixed destination. It's more like a direct reflection of your most frequent thoughts. How can people start to get their heads around that powerful connection?
Well, the fascinating thing for you to consider is how your mind and the world you experience are in this constant feedback loop. Your thoughts, they act like these invisible filters, right? Influencing what you notice, the choices you make, and ultimately the results you get.
So it shapes your perception.
Precisely. If you find yourself habitually thinking about limitations or about what's missing, it's actually very likely that your external reality will start to mirror those very same lacks.
Okay, so if the reality you're living now isn't really cutting it, the first critical step, as highlighted, would be some deep introspection, defining that ideal version of yourself. What does that exercise actually mean for someone listening?
For you, this is potentially a turning point. It's about creating a really clear, detailed mental picture of the person you aspire to become.
Okay.
And not just on the surface level, like, income or physical appearance, but also digging deeper. How does this ideal version of you think? What core beliefs drive them? What habits do they practice every single day?
And the key here, I guess, is being completely honest with yourself and recognizing if there's a significant gap between that ideal picture and where you are right now. Because I think facing that distance, that can be scary for a lot of people. Have you found that?
Oh, absolutely. It's natural to feel some resistance there. Facing that gap, even though it might feel uncomfortable initially, it's actually fundamental for kicking off the change process.
Right.
By defining that ideal with precision, you're creating a clear reference point, like a North Star, that guides your future actions and decisions. Without that clarity, it's just so easy to drift aimlessly, repeating the same old patterns.
This is where the conversation takes maybe a slightly deeper turn, because this idea of universal laws comes up, and there's this analogy of planting a seed.
Yeah.
How can someone listening understand this concept in relation to their own personal transformation?
For you listening, that seed and tree analogy is actually quite revealing. The law of gestation, as it's sometimes called, it reminds you that any growth process takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect to harvest fruit right after you plant the seed, can you?
No, obviously not.
So in your personal transformation journey, this translates to needing patience and perseverance. Sometimes the lack of immediate results can lead to frustration, and you might feel tempted to just give up on your efforts prematurely, maybe right before a potential breakthrough. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah, I think we've all been there. And this connects to an idea that might be a bit challenging for some. The notion that if something you desire hasn't shown up in your life yet, it might be because you're not quite ready to handle it. Could you unpack that a bit more so people can grasp it better?
It's a perspective that really invites some self-reflection. It's not about denying your desires, not at all. It's more about considering whether internally you've actually developed the capacity, the mindset, the habits needed to integrate and sustain whatever it is you're longing for.
Okay.
It's kind of like wanting to drive a race car without having learned how to drive first. That lack of internal readiness could be one of the underlying reasons for delays in reaching your goals.
Then there's this interesting proverb shared: commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. How can someone interpret this practically, apply it day to day, without feeling like it's just about waiting passively?
For you, the key really lies in finding that balance between action and trust. It's definitely not about sitting back and waiting for things to magically happen.
Right, you have to do something.
Exactly. It's about focusing diligently on the what you want to achieve and the why it's important to you, while trusting that the how and the when will gradually reveal themselves as you move forward with faith and determination. It's about letting go of that need to control every single detail of the process and trusting in, well, a higher intelligence or the process itself.
And now we get to a point I know causes anxiety for so many of us, fear.
Yeah.
We all feel it, but we often let it paralyze us. The material we looked at shares a very direct strategy for tackling it. Action. Why do you think taking that first step is so crucial, even when your stomach is in knots?
The fascinating thing about fear, for you, is that it often feeds on inaction. The more you avoid what scares you, the more power you give it over you. Action, however small, breaks that cycle. It's like flipping a switch in a dark room. The clarity you gain from facing your fears, even gradually, diminishes their intensity and allows you to see new possibilities that were hidden before.
I found the example of speaking to an empty camera really useful as an act of courage and preparation. It's like you're practicing for a reality that hasn't happened yet, but one you're determined to reach.
Exactly.
And then this really powerful question is posed for the listener. What life are you giving up out of fear? I think taking a moment to really sit with that closure could be incredibly revealing for anyone listening.
Absolutely. That question forces you to confront the real cost of letting fear dictate your choices. What dreams are you putting on hold in your life? What experiences are you actively avoiding? What potential are you leaving untapped simply because you're afraid of the unknown? Recognizing those renunciations, those things you're giving up, that's the essential first step towards reclaiming the life you truly desire for yourself.
So as we start to wrap up this really insightful chat, we circle back to that central idea. Your current reality is fundamentally a reflection of your dominant thoughts. And to change that reflection, the real work, the foundational work, starts inside you.
That's right. Genuine, lasting external change is always preceded by an internal transformation within you. By focusing on cultivating thoughts of possibility, of abundance, of growth, you begin sowing the seeds for a new reality for yourself.
And it's crucial for you, as we mentioned earlier, to have that clear vision of your ideal self. How they think, what they earn perhaps, the habits they cultivate. Recognizing the gap between that vision and your present situation, that's the engine driving your transformation.
And that analogy of the seed, the law of gestation, it reminds you that everything takes its own time for you. There might be delays, sure, but often those delays aren't roadblocks. They might just be indicators that you still need to prepare internally to receive what you're aiming for. Patience and perseverance are absolutely key virtues in this process for you.
And embracing that idea of faith for yourself, of letting go of the how and the when, focusing instead on the what and the why, trusting the process like that proverb suggests, Proverbs 16.3.
Exactly. Freeing yourself from that obsession with control and trusting that the path will become clear as you move forward with intention and conviction in your life.
Finally, that universal barrier, fear. For you listening, remember that action is the most potent antidote to fear. Every small step you take towards your goals, despite that initial discomfort, builds your confidence and weakens fear's hold on your life. That question, what life are you giving up out of fear? It's really a call to courage for you.
Ultimately, your transformation is a journey. It requires consistent effort, self-awareness, and a deep-seated belief in your own potential.
And with that powerful thought for you all, we come to the end of this conversation. We really hope this chat has sparked something within you, a sense of possibility, and maybe encourages you to take action towards the life you truly desire.
Absolutely. The power to transform your reality truly lies within you.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, we'd love it if you could give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss future explorations, leave us your thoughts in the comments, and maybe share this with anyone you think might find it inspiring. Thanks so much for joining us.